Welcome back to Nuansa Art, your go-to channel for cozy, inspiring home design and interior ideas. If you love beautiful architecture, natural textures, and timeless design, you're in the right place. In today's video, we're taking you on a full tour of a tiny stone and red brick house that perfectly captures the essence of cozy rustic design. This home isn't just about aesthetics. It's about embracing simplicity, warmth, and the organic charm of natural materials. From exposed wooden beams to handmade stone walls, every detail in this home tells a story. So grab a warm drink, get comfy, and join us for a closer look at this beautiful tiny house. And before we dive in, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Nuansa Art, and leave us a comment telling us which design feature is your favorite. Now, let's begin our cozy journey. As we approach this charming home, the first thing you'll notice is the rich texture of its stone and red brick facade. The exterior immediately evokes a feeling of history and warmth, reminiscent of countryside cottages in rural Europe. The stones vary slightly in size and color, giving the house a handcrafted appearance, while the red bricks provide contrast and structure. A modest wooden door, framed by climbing ivy and rustic lantern lights, welcomes you into a world where nature meets comfort. The natural landscaping complements the house perfectly. No overly manicured lawns here, just soft green grasses, blooming herbs, and scattered stone pathways. This natural approach doesn't just make the home beautiful, it also makes it feel lived in and loved. The balance of materials makes this house blend harmoniously with its surroundings, proving that a tiny home can have a grand visual impact. Step inside, and you're immediately wrapped in the cozy embrace of the living room. The walls are partially exposed stone, bringing the texture of the exterior inside. A cast iron fireplace sits in one corner, acting as both a heat source and a rustic focal point. The ceiling beams are made from reclaimed wood, slightly weathered and full of character. Natural light pours in through wood-framed windows, giving the room a soft, golden glow. The furniture is minimal yet purposeful: a cozy linen sofa, a couple of vintage armchairs, and a simple wooden coffee table, all chosen to reflect the home's natural, rustic style. Handmade woven rugs add warmth underfoot, while neutral color tones keep the space calm and grounded. This room isn't large, but it doesn't need to be. It feels personal, intimate, and perfectly functional, making it a model of efficient, aesthetic small living. Moving into the kitchen, we find a perfect marriage of form and function. Though compact, every inch of this space has been carefully considered. The cabinets are handcrafted from natural wood, with visible grain and simple iron hardware that matches the rustic theme. Open shelving displays ceramic dishes, glass jars, and handmade pottery, adding to the visual interest without feeling cluttered. The backsplash is made of small, irregular stone tiles, a detail that brings an earthy tone to the room. Natural materials are used throughout, not just for beauty, but for longevity and sustainability. The countertop is crafted from sealed butcher block, blending beautifully with the warm, natural tones of the entire home. Despite its small size, this kitchen is incredibly functional, with clever storage solutions and a cozy ambience that encourages slow cooking and meaningful meals. It's a testament to how tiny kitchens can be big in character. Adjacent to the kitchen is a small dining nook that proves rustic design can be incredibly charming and inviting. A reclaimed wood dining table sits at the center, with mismatched vintage chairs creating a casual, homey atmosphere. Above the table hangs a handmade pendant light crafted from woven reeds, casting soft shadows and creating a warm, ambient glow. The dining area is framed by a window that overlooks the garden, making every meal feel connected to nature. The walls here are a combination of soft lime plaster and partial brickwork, providing a gentle texture without overwhelming the senses. Small details, like a linen table runner, a ceramic vase filled with wildflowers, and framed sketches of the countryside, add personality and warmth. It's the perfect spot for a quiet breakfast, an evening with friends, or simply enjoying a cup of tea in peace. The bedroom continues the home's rustic charm with a sense of peaceful simplicity. The walls are painted in a muted earth tone, with one feature wall of exposed red brick that adds depth and texture. The bed frame is handmade from reclaimed wood, and the bedding is made from natural linen and cotton in warm, neutral shades. There's no excess here, just essential pieces that allow the space to feel open and breathable. A vintage wooden chest at the foot of the bed doubles as storage and adds historical flair. Small nightstands made from tree stumps hold handmade lamps with soft, warm bulbs. Large windows open out to garden views, inviting natural light and fresh air into the room. It's a perfect example of how a tiny space can feel luxurious in its simplicity, especially when designed with care, intention, and a love for natural textures. One of the most delightful spaces in this home is a small multipurpose corner tucked near the living area. It serves as a cozy reading nook and occasional workspace, depending on the mood. A built-in bench under the window is lined with soft cushions and wool throws, offering a relaxing spot to read, reflect, or even journal. Above the bench, open wooden shelves hold a mix of books, plants, and personal mementos, adding a sense of intimacy and lived-in charm. A small writing desk and a vintage chair make this spot feel both practical and peaceful. The use of natural materials, wood, stone, cotton, and wool, creates a space that feels grounded and nurturing. It's a gentle reminder that even the smallest corners of a home can be transformed into meaningful, functional places, reinforcing the idea that thoughtful design doesn't depend on square footage. The bathroom in this tiny house is a true gem. Though compact, it's designed with natural serenity in mind. The walls are a mix of polished concrete and exposed stone, giving it a spa-like quality with a rustic twist. A deep soaking tub sits under a skylight, allowing for tranquil, sunlit baths. The vanity is made from salvaged wood with a stone vessel sink and matte black fixtures, offering both durability and rustic elegance. Indoor plants are used subtly, adding freshness and life to the space without overcrowding it. The color palette leans into earthy browns, soft grays, and whites, calming tones that enhance the peaceful feel. Even in such a small footprint, this bathroom captures the core of the home's design philosophy: simplicity, natural beauty, and honest materials. It's a functional space that feels like a retreat, perfectly in line with the rest of the house. but not least, we explore the outdoor space, a vital extension of this cozy rustic home. The garden is a natural sanctuary full of native plants, herbs, and flowering vines. A stone path weaves through garden beds, leading to a small wooden deck with handmade chairs and a fire pit. This outdoor space isn't overly curated. It feels natural, almost wild, yet still lovingly maintained. The red brick and stone exterior of the house glows warmly in the sunlight, and at dusk, soft outdoor lighting enhances the peaceful ambience. The sound of birds, the scent of lavender, and the visual rhythm of textured natural materials make this a place for true relaxation and reconnection with nature. It's a final reminder that every element of this home, from inside out, has been crafted with care, intention, and a love for organic living. And there you have it, a full tour of this stunning tiny stone and red brick house, a true masterpiece of cozy rustic home design. From the handcrafted natural materials to the seamless indoor-outdoor connection, this house is proof that tiny living doesn't mean giving up beauty or comfort. It's all about using space wisely and leaning into nature for inspiration. If you enjoyed this tour and found some design ideas for your own space, be sure to like this video, subscribe to Nuansa Art, and let us know in the comments which part of the home you loved most. Was it the textured stone walls, the minimalist kitchen, or the relaxing garden views? We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep dreaming, designing, and creating beautiful spaces right here with us at Nuansa Art.